Welcome to QueAquatics and Exotics. My name's Suzy, and today I'm going to be going over 5 of my favorite aquatic plants for a 5-gallon aquarium. And while I'm talking about these plants, I'm going to go ahead and aquascape this 5-gallon aquarium. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, it's SuzyQue and I'm here to show you just what I do. I have a passion for fish and exotics too, so come along with me, it's SuzyQue. Hey.
I'm going to aquascape this tank and we'll talk about the plants as we go. So I'm starting with this 5-gallon aquarium. I'm going to be filtering it with this sponge filter, but I'm going to use this little drip tray for like a 4-inch pot to hold some extra Eco-Complete for my very first plant. It's going to be a faster growing. The other plants are going to be slow growing. So I'm going to start with the Hydrophylla Agustifolia. And if you can look closely, there's actually 2 small plants. I'm keeping it sparse because this is a fast grower. Here we go. First plant in. Now these have some long, narrow leaves, and they actually have a very solid root system. This will grow quite tall, but you can also prune it. I'll just have to stay on top of it, and I think it'll look amazing. And that's in the corner, Hydrophylla Agustifolia. The next plant I'm picking is from the genus Cryptocurrene, also known as a crypt. And I'm going to be using the species Spiralis because it will have a clockwise spin to it as it matures. It's going to be gorgeous. Now, this plant does not like to be moved. It's a very good chance all these leaves are going to melt, but I'm going to leave it in here in hopes that they all come back powerful. Even though right now these look straight, and I'm also going to put these in some substrate in little containers. And the reason I'm putting these in containers, I'm not going to use this aquatic soil in the whole tank. I'm only going to use it for these 2 plant species. Now I just took this plant out of water. It was floating and I don't want to keep it dry too long. And this is going to go kind of over here. Now the main focal point of my aquascape is going to be this piece of driftwood. You can pick a piece of driftwood. I just make sure all edges are soft. There's nothing sharp in this. If there is, I just sanded it down. Like these 2 here were very sharp. I sanded it down. How's that? Nope. See how there has a little hump in here? A little archway. I want the fish, whatever I pick, and I want the fish to be able to swim under here. Those are the only 2 plants that I'm planting in aquasoil. All the other plants are rhizome plants. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why I don't need to put these plants in soil. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover these 2 things with a little bit of black sand and the bottom of the tank with black sand. I have the black sand all rinsed off. And trust me, I'm not an aquascaper. So what you're seeing here is obviously not done by a professional. But as long as your fish are healthy and there's nothing dangerous in here, you do you. As long as your fish are getting all the requirements it needs, you could put pink gravel in here if you want to. Now the reason I'm going with the black sand and the black background, the main focal point of this tank is going to be the fish. Stay tuned next week while I go over my top 5 fish for a 5-gallon tank. But first I'm getting the tank ready. So let's talk a little bit about rhizomes. The rhizome plants have 3 parts to it. They have the leaf, they have the rhizome, and they have the roots. The nutrients are going to be sucked up through the rhizomes, not the roots. The roots are going to be actually used to wrap around rock, wood, plastic decor. It'll wrap around just about anything. Make sure that the rhizome is not suffocated by the sand substrate and it sits on top of it, while the roots can be in the sand or the roots can be wrapped around. My third plant I'm putting in here is a rhizome plant, and it's a Microsorm terapus. Probably know it as Java Fern. But Java Fern comes in a lot of varieties. And before I get started talking about the varieties of the Java Fern, let me explain just very brief overview, because I know plants can get complicated with the cultivars, varieties, species, genus. The species is just a classification for the similar plants with similar traits that give off the same offspring. And varieties are naturally occurring. And a cultivar is something that a breeder might create by mixing two plants or by splicing together. There's all different ways a breeder can create a new, it would be called a cultivar. That's a difference between a cultivar and a variety. So these different kinds of Java ferns, narrow leaf, trident, undulated, windalove, Philippine. These are varieties. These are all natural occurring. Let me show you. So these are the leaves. They're kind of leathery, very thick, green, dark brown, like lines through it. This right here, this thick part here, that's the rhizome. Got to keep that above. And these stringy things, those are the roots. Now, in my Cryptocurrene, the root that goes into the soil is what's bringing up the nutrients, where here it's the rhizome. So I do not want to bury the rhizome. It won't last. You can either super glue this to the wood, you can tie it with polyester thread, fishing line. I had a bad experience with fishing line. I didn't realize it came loose. The wood started deteriorating and one of my fish got caught in a loop in it, and she met her demise. So I don't use that anymore. Sometimes you can you have just the perfect piece of wood that will let you wedge it in between or wrap it around. So that's what I'm going to do here. And all these plants I'm just picking up. I'm just picking from other from other tanks, but you can certainly get them in any store. This one is an Anubias. So in the genus of Anubias, which by the way is an aroid, and it can be aquatic, semi-aquatic, and it flowers. And if you have terrestrial plants, you know there's a whole group of aroids up, you know, the Monstera, Philodendron, Pothos. This is also an aroid. But this genus is Anubias, and there are quite a few species. But the species that I'm using is the Barteri. And this plant, it's going to be a lot easier, let me get it on my black, to see. Got the three sections. You got the leaf, you got the rhizome, and you got the roots. And you got a leaf that's fell underneath. Now this is just going to fall off. But as this grows, this rhizome is going to grow and more leaves are going to come out. Here's a new leaf right here. Do you see that? Maybe it's better on the black. There you go, right there. There's a new leaf coming out. So this is great. There we go. This is my jungle look. I'm going to start adding the water because I didn't bring my mister down and I don't want the leaves of these plants to get dried out. I don't want it to hit the sand and start blowing things around or the roots. So I picked up this little trick from George Farmer, who is an absolute amazing aquascaper. So now that I have these four plants in here, the Cryptocurrene, the Hydrophylla, the Java Fern, and the Anubias Barteri, I wanted to add one of my favorites. I also make dollhouse furniture and I love miniatures. So what better plant to put in here than the Anubias Nana Petite. Now this has about 20 leaves on it and it's about the size of my thumbnail. Very fine roots, just like its larger Anubias Barteri, but this one is going to go up here. So I'm going to let this tank clear up. I'm going to turn on the sponge filter and I'm going to connect my air line from my linear piston air pump. Love it. And what I'll do over here is this heavy green base. Just going to put a little black sand over it. So I'm not going to win any aquascaping contests, that's for sure. But guess what? You do you. I do me. That's the beauty of having an aquarium. As long as your fish have everything they need and there's nothing dangerous in there, put in what you like. And another reason why I like plants in a 5-gallon aquarium, because you can get one of the cheaper small lights that costs like about $20. And since it's such a small distance, you don't have to go with low light plants. These are low light plants for the most part. I think this the shop light would do all right. I'm gonna put a little light over here because a lot of times this is off. This is just here for my maintenance. I don't usually keep this light on, and it's not on a timer, but I will put a grow light on this aquarium with a timer because when I have a planted aquarium, I want to give the plants the best shot they got. And we're going to see how it looks tomorrow. But my 5 plants, Hydrophylla Agustifolia, Cryptocurrene spirilla, Java Fern Windalove, Anubis barteri, and Anubis nana petite. These are my 5 top plants for a 5-gallon aquarium. And what fish do you say? Stay tuned next week. I'm going to go over my 5 top fish to go in a 5-gallon aquarium. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. Hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. Nah, hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. So come along with me. Said I'm SuzyQue.